Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the stars through the large window.
He had been in space for 30 years, but the view never got old.
The stars looked peaceful from here, but Kim knew better. Space was dangerous, and humanity had learned that the hard way. His ship, the Soul's Fury, was the biggest in the Korean defense fleet. It carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon and had shields that could stop almost anything. But today, Kim was not thinking about war. He was thinking about the strange message that had arrived 3 days ago. Lieutenant Commander Choi Minna walked up to him. She held a data pad in her hands and looked worried. "Sir, Dr. Park wants to see you in the communication center. He says it's about the alien signal." Kim nodded. The signal had come from very far away, farther than any human had ever traveled. It had taken the message over 1,000 years to reach Earth, traveling at the speed of light. The people who sent it might already be dead. They walked through the ship's corridors. Crew members saluted as Kim passed. These were good people, Kim thought. They had volunteered to serve in the deep space fleet, far from their families on Earth. They trusted him to keep them safe. The communication center was full of computers and screens. Dr. Park Jin-woo looked up when they entered. He was a smart man who studied alien languages, even though humans had never met any aliens before, at least not until now. "Admiral," Park said, "I think I understand more of the message now. It's not good news." Kim sat down next to him. "Show me what you found." Park touched his computer screen and symbols appeared. They looked like math problems mixed with simple pictures. The aliens who sent this call themselves the Helion Collective. They live in a system called Kepler 442, about 1,200 light-years from here. "That's very far," Choi said. "Yes, but that's not the worst part." Park touched the screen again. "They're being attacked by something called the Vorthak Empire. Look at these pictures." The screen showed simple drawings: ships destroying cities, people running and hiding, planets turning dark and empty. "The Vorthak have already destroyed 17 worlds," Park continued. "They give other species a choice: become slaves or die. The Helions are peaceful people. They don't know how to fight." Kim studied the images. He had seen war before, but this looked like something worse. This looked like the complete destruction of an entire species. "Why did they send the message to us?" Kim asked. "How do they even know about humans?" Park smiled for the first time in days. "This is the interesting part. They don't know about humans specifically. They sent the message to anyone who might be listening. But look at this part of the message. More symbols appeared on the screen. These were different, more complex. They mentioned something important about the Vorthak," Park said. "The Vorthak are afraid of something. They call them Deathworld species, aliens who come from dangerous planets." Kim felt something cold in his stomach. Dangerous planets? Yes. The Vorthak avoid systems that might have species like that. They think Deathworld species are too dangerous to fight, too unpredictable, Park paused. "Too violent." Choi looked confused. "But what does that have to do with us?" Kim knew. He had always known, but he had never thought about it this way. Earth was not a nice place to live. It had earthquakes and volcanoes, storms that could destroy cities, wild animals that could kill a person in seconds, diseases that killed millions. Humans had survived all of that for thousands of years. Most planets in the galaxy were probably much safer than Earth. "Earth is a death world," Kim said quietly. Park nodded. "According to their classification system, Earth is a Class 12 death world. The most dangerous type of planet that can support life." Kim stood up and walked to the window. He thought about his childhood on Earth, the typhoons that hit Korea every year, the training exercises in the mountains where soldiers learned to survive in conditions that would kill most people, the history books full of wars and disasters that had made humanity stronger. "Sir," Choi said, "you're not thinking about going there, are you? It's 1,200 light-years away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take over a year to get there." Kim turned back to them. "How long ago was this message sent?" "Based on the stellar positions they reference," Park said, "about 1,200 years ago. So we don't know if they're still alive." "No, sir. They could all be dead by now." Kim was quiet for a long time. He thought about the oath he had taken when he became an officer in the Korean Defense Force, to protect the innocent, to stand against evil, to never abandon those who needed help. But this was different. This was not just about Korea or even about Earth. This was about traveling farther than any human had ever gone. to help people they had never met, who might already be dead. "Admiral," Park said softly, "there's something else. If we don't help them, and the Vorthak keep expanding, they might eventually find Earth." Kim had thought about that too. If these Vorthak destroyed species after species, eventually they would be strong enough to threaten anyone. "Even Deathworld species. Get me Captain Lee," Kim said. A few minutes later, Captain Lee So-min entered the room. She was young but very smart, and Kim trusted her completely. "Captain," Kim said, "how long would it take to prepare the entire 7th Battle Group for a long-range mission?" Lee looked surprised. "How long-range, sir?" 200 light-years." Lee was quiet for a moment. "That would require our new Cascade jump drives. We've never tested them at that distance. It could take 14 months, maybe more, and we'd be completely cut off from Earth." Kim nodded. "I want you to start preparing. And Captain, prepare for combat operations." "Sir," Choi said, "the Earth Defense Council will never approve this mission. It's too dangerous, too far, and too expensive." Kim smiled. "Then we'll have to convince them that it's the right thing to do." Over the next week, Kim worked to build support for the mission. He talked to other admirals, to politicians, to scientists. Many of them thought he was crazy, but some understood. The breakthrough came when Dr. Park finished translating more of the alien message. Hidden in the mathematical formulas was something important: the location of other Vorthak fleets. If the pattern was correct, the Vorthak Empire was expanding in all directions. Eventually, they would reach human space. "We can wait for them to come to us," Kim told the Defense Council, "or we can stop them now, while they're far away." The vote was close, but Kim won. The 7th Battle Group would deploy to Kepler 442. As Kim stood on his bridge watching his ships prepare for the longest journey in human history, he felt both fear and hope. Fear because they were heading into the unknown, to fight an enemy they didn't understand. Hope because humanity was finally ready to take its place among the stars. "All ships report ready, sir," Lee said. Kim looked out at his fleet. 12 ships carrying 15,000 of humanity's best soldiers, sailors, and marines. They were about to become the first humans to travel to another part of the galaxy. "Begin Cascade jump sequence," Kim ordered. The stars began to change as the ships entered hyperspace. Kim whispered a prayer for the people they were going to help, and for the crews who had volunteered to follow him into the darkness between the stars. The Deathworlders were coming. The journey through hyperspace was like nothing the crew had ever experienced. Engineer Chief Nam Hye-jin watched the readings on her screens with worry. The Cascade jump drives were pushing harder than they ever had before. Every day she expected something to break. "The power cores are running at 98%, she told Admiral Kim during their morning meeting. "That's higher than safe limits," Kim nodded. "Can the ships handle it?" "For now, yes. But if we push much harder, we might lose a ship." Captain Lee So-min looked at the star charts on the main screen. They showed their progress across the galaxy. After 6 months of travel, they were barely halfway to their destination. "We're making good time," Lee said, "but we're also using more fuel than planned." Kim studied the numbers. The mission was already pushing the limits of what was possible, but they had to keep going. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ah called from her station, "we're getting a signal from the long-range sensors." Everyone turned to look at her screen. There was something out there, something big. "It's a ship," Choi said. "But it's not moving." Dr. Park Jin-woo leaned over her shoulder to look at the readings. "The design is similar to the Helian ships in the message, but different." Kim made his decision. "Take us out of hyperspace. I want to see what's out there." The Soul's Fury and its escort ships dropped back into normal space. In front of them was a massive ship, larger than anything humans had ever built, but it was clearly damaged. Pieces of metal floated around it like a cloud. "Life signs?" Kim asked. "Scanning now," Choi said. After a moment, she looked up. "There are survivors, but not many. Maybe a few hundred. Open a communication channel." The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. It had 4 eyes and skin that looked like it was made of crystal. The creature looked very tired and very afraid. "Please," the alien said in broken English. "Are you here to help us?" Dr. Park stepped forward. "We are humans from Earth. We received your distress call." The alien's 4 eyes grew wide. "Humans from a death world?" "Yes," Kim said. "We're traveling to help the Helian Collective. Are you from there?" "I am Velkiran of the Thesian Republic. We were like the Helians once, peaceful, Happy. The Vorthak came to our world 3 years ago. The alien's voice became very sad. Our planet is gone now. Everything is gone. Kim felt anger growing in his chest. How many of your people are left? On this ship 847 in the entire galaxy, maybe a few thousand. We are all that remains of billions. The bridge was very quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. This could happen to Earth. We will take your people aboard, Kim said. We have medical facilities and food. Over the next few hours, the human ships rescued the Thesian survivors. Dr. Song Ye-jin, the fleet's chief medical officer, worked with her team to help the injured aliens. Many of them had never seen humans before. Your people are so, one of the Thesians said to Dr. Song, so tough. On our world, if someone got hurt like this, they would die. But your bodies can heal from almost anything. Dr. Song smiled. We've had a lot of practice. Dr. Park spent most of his time talking with Valkyrin, learning about the Vorthak Empire. What he learned made everyone nervous. The Vorthak are not just conquerors, Park explained to Kim later. They believe they are superior to all other life forms. They think peaceful species are weak and deserve to be slaves. What about their military? Kim asked, very advanced. Their ships are bigger and faster than ours. Their weapons can destroy cities from orbit, but... Park paused. They have one weakness, which is... They've never had to fight a real war. For the past 1,000 years, they've conquered species that couldn't fight back. They use fear more than actual battle. Kim thought about this. So they're bullies. Yes, but very dangerous bullies. Major Yoon Seok-jin joined the conversation. He commanded the fleet's Marines, the soldiers who would fight if they had to land on planets. What about their ground forces? Yoon asked. Strong, but they rely on their technology, Park said. They've never fought an enemy that could adapt and fight back. Good, Yoon said with a smile. My Marines love a challenge. As the fleet continued its journey, they encountered more refugee ships. Each one told the same story. The Vorthak had arrived, demanded surrender, and then destroyed everything when the peaceful aliens couldn't fight back. But the refugees also brought useful information. They had maps of Vorthak space, details about their ships, and most importantly, they confirmed something the humans had hoped. The Vorthak are afraid of Deathworld species an alien called Morthak told them. They have legends about warriors from burning worlds who cannot be defeated. They think such species are myths, but they still avoid any system that might have them. Captain Lee was very interested in this. She spent hours with the alien refugees learning about Vorthak tactics and weaknesses. They always attack the same way, she told Kim. First, they surround the planet. Then they demand surrender. If the planet refuses, they bombard it until the people give up. What if the people don't give up? Kim asked. That has never happened before, Lee smiled. Then they're in for a surprise. Pilot Squadron Leader Bae Dong-wook was training his fighter pilots for the battle to come. The refugees had given them detailed information about Vorthak fighter designs. Their ships are faster than ours, Bae told his pilots. But they're built for intimidation, not dogfights. They expect their enemies to run away. What if we don't run? Asked one of the younger pilots. Then we show them what Deathworld pilots can do. The refugees were amazed by human training methods. They watched Marines practice combat in conditions that would kill most alien species. They saw pilots learning to fly damaged ships through asteroid fields. They observed engineers working in space without protection suits for short periods. How do you survive such training? Valkyrin asked Dr. Park. On Earth, if you can't survive hard conditions, you die young, Park explained. For millions of years, only the strongest and smartest humans lived long enough to have children. We evolved to be tough. But why do you choose to help us? We are not your species. Park was quiet for a moment. Because it's the right thing to do. On Earth, we learned long ago that when evil threatens the innocent, good people must stand up and fight. After 14 months of travel, Engineer Nam finally announced that they were approaching their destination. The Cascade drives are holding together, she reported, but just barely. We'll need major repairs before we can make the return journey. How major? Kim asked. We'll need to find materials for new parts and a safe place to work. Kim looked at the star chart. They were almost at Kepler 442, the home system of the Helian Collective. Sir? Choi called out. I'm picking up energy signatures ahead. Lots of them. The Vorthak? Lee asked. I think so. And sir? Choi's voice became very serious. There are a lot of them. Kim stood up from his command chair. After more than a year of travel, they had finally arrived. In a few hours, they would know if the Helians were still alive, and if humanity was ready for its first interstellar war. All ships, battle stations, Kim ordered. Send a message to the refugee ships. Tell them to stay back and stay safe. The fleet moved forward toward the signals that meant either salvation or destruction for an entire species. Kim thought about Earth so far away. If they failed here, the Vorthak might someday reach human space. His family, his friends, everyone he had ever known would face the same fate as the Thesians. But if they succeeded, humanity would prove that Deathworld species were not myths. They were real and they were ready to fight for justice. "Admiral," Lee said quietly, "whatever happens, I'm proud to serve with you." Kim nodded. "The feeling is mutual, Captain." The stars ahead began to change as they approached their destination. Soon they would find out if the stories about Deathworld warriors were true. The Kepler 442 system was a scene of destruction. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stared at the main screen in horror. The beautiful blue world that should have been the Helian homeworld was covered in smoke and fire. 17 massive Vorthak warships surrounded the planet like predators circling wounded prey. Energy readings show continuous bombardment, Lieutenant Commander Choi Min-ah reported. They're targeting population centers. Captain Lee So-min studied the tactical display. The Vorthak ships were huge, each one 3 times larger than the Sol's Fury. Their weapons were firing down at the planet in steady streams of destruction. "How long have they been doing this?" Dr. Park Jin-woo asked. "Based on the damage patterns," Choi said, "maybe 2 years." Kim felt sick. They had traveled for 14 months, but they were still too late to prevent this massacre. "Sir," Choi continued, "I'm detecting signals from the planet's surface. Very weak, but they're there. Survivors? It looks like it." Dr. Park worked quickly to establish communication with the surface. After several attempts, a weak signal came through. The voice was strange, like wind chimes mixed with music. "Please," the voice said, "if anyone can hear this, we are dying. The destroyers came from the dark between stars. We cannot fight them. We do not know how." "This is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of the Earth Defense Fleet," Kim replied. "We received your message. We're here to help." There was a long silence. Then the alien voice returned, filled with amazement. "Earth? A Deathworld responded to our call?" "Yes, how many of your people are still alive?" "Perhaps 3 million hiding in the deep shelters. We built them to protect against earthquakes, but they work against the fire from above as well." Kim looked around his bridge. 3 million survivors out of billions. The Vorthak had been very thorough. "We're going to get you out of there," Kim promised. Before the alien could respond, alarms began sounding on the bridge. "Admiral," Choi called out, "the Vorthak ships are turning toward us. They've detected our fleet." On the main screen, the massive enemy ships were slowly changing position. They moved like metal mountains, their dark hulls covered with weapon systems that could destroy cities. "Incoming transmission from the Vorthak flagship," Choi announced. "Put it through." The screen changed, showing the bridge of an alien warship. The creature standing in the center was tall and thin, with gray skin and red eyes. It wore black armor covered in symbols that probably meant rank and victories. "I am War Commander Gelt of the Vorthak Imperial Fleet," the alien said in perfect English. "You will identify yourselves and state your purpose in this system." Kim stepped forward. "I am Admiral Kim Tae-ho. We are here to help the people you are murdering." Gelt's red eyes narrowed. "Murdering? We are bringing order to chaos. These creatures refuse to accept their proper place as servants of the Vorthak Empire. Their proper place is to be free. Freedom is an illusion. Only the strong deserve to rule." Gelt studied Kim through the screen. "You appear to be from a Deathworld species. Such beings should understand the value of strength. We understand that strength should protect the weak, not prey on them." Gelt made a sound that might have been laughter. "How noble. How foolish. Your 12 ships cannot stand against my fleet. Withdraw now, and I will allow you to leave." Kim felt the eyes of his crew on him. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "We don't recognize your right to slaughter innocent people," Kim said calmly. "You want this system? Come take it." The alien's face changed, showing surprise and anger. "You dare challenge the Vorthak Empire? Your species will pay for this arrogance. We'll see about that." The transmission ended. Kim turned to his crew. "All ships, Battle Formation Alpha. Launch fighters. Prepare for combat, sir," Lee said quietly. "They outnumber us 17 to 12, and their ships are much larger. Size isn't everything, Captain. We have something they don't. What's that, sir? Kim smiled grimly. We're from a death world. We know how to fight when the odds are against us. The human fleet spread out into attack formation. Their ships were smaller and faster than the Vorthak vessels, built for speed and maneuverability rather than intimidation. Pilot Squadron Leader Bae Dong-wook led the first wave of fighters toward the enemy fleet. His pilots flew with a precision that came from training in Earth's dangerous skies. Remember, Bae told his pilots over the radio, these aliens expect us to run away when we see their big ships. Let's show them how wrong they are. The first Vorthak scout ships moved to intercept the human fighters. They were sleek and fast, designed to chase down fleeing enemies. But the human pilots didn't flee. Instead, they attacked head-on, using tactics that confused and frightened the Vorthak pilots. Human fighters worked in groups like hunting packs. When a Vorthak ship targeted one fighter, two others would attack it from different directions. The Vorthak had superior technology, but the humans had superior tactics. More importantly, they had something the Vorthak couldn't understand. They were willing to die to protect innocent people. Vorthak's scout wing destroyed, Bae reported. We lost 3 fighters, but we got all of them. On the main Vorthak ship, War Commander Gelt was staring at his tactical displays in confusion. How did they destroy our scouts? He asked his officers. They fought like they were already dead, one officer replied. They showed no fear. Gelt had conquered dozens of worlds, but he had never seen anything like this. Usually when enemies saw Vorthak firepower, they either surrendered or tried to run away. These humans had charged directly into his ship's weapons. Send 3 heavy cruisers, Gelt ordered. Destroy their flagship. The battle escalated quickly. Vorthak heavy cruisers moved toward the Soul's Fury, their massive guns charging for a killing blow. But Captain Lee had anticipated this. Evasive maneuvers, she ordered. Attack pattern Delta. The Soul's Fury and its escort ships scattered, forcing the Vorthak ships to divide their fire. Human ships were smaller targets, harder to hit. And when they fired back, they aimed for specific weak points that the refugee aliens had identified. Direct hit on enemy cruiser's shield generator, reported the weapons officer. Follow up with torpedoes, Lee commanded. The damaged Vorthak ship tried to retreat, but human fighters swarmed it like angry insects, hitting it from all sides until its hull cracked open. On the planet's surface, the surviving Helians watched the battle through their deep shelter sensors. They had never seen anything like it. The Deathworlders are fighting the Vorthak, one Helian reported to the others, and they're winning. Ambassador Velthera, the senior Helian survivor, couldn't believe what she was seeing. How is this possible? The Vorthak have the strongest fleet in the galaxy. Perhaps strength is not just about having big ships, another Helian said. Perhaps it's about having the courage to use what you have. Back in space, the battle was turning in humanity's favor. The Vorthak ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight enemies who would give up quickly. They had never faced opponents who would accept heavy losses to achieve their goals. Major Yoon Sok-jin led a desperate boarding action against a damaged Vorthak cruiser. His Marines used small assault ships to get inside the enemy vessel, then fought through its corridors with weapons and tactics the Vorthak had never seen. These corridors are too narrow for proper combat, one Marine complained as they advanced through the ship. Good, Yoon replied. Narrow spaces favor the defender, and we're all defenders today. The Vorthak crew had never fought enemies in person before. They were used to destroying planets from a safe distance. When armed humans appeared in their ship, shooting and moving with deadly efficiency, many of them panicked and ran. Their armor is strong, Corporal Oh Min-jun reported as he placed explosive charges on critical systems, but they don't know how to fight in close quarters. The boarding action succeeded. The Vorthak cruiser was crippled, its crew either dead or captured. War Commander Gelt watched his tactical displays with growing alarm. In less than 3 hours, he had lost 5 ships to an enemy fleet he should have been able to destroy easily. Sir, his second-in-command said, perhaps we should withdraw and request reinforcements. Withdraw? Gelt's voice was full of rage. The Vorthak Empire does not retreat from inferior species. But even as he said it, Gelt felt something he had never experienced before. Doubt. These humans fought with a ferocity that made no sense. They accepted losses that would break any sensible species. They seemed to view death as just another tactical option. Sir, the communications officer called out, The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. What are they saying? They're describing their homeworld. The message is being transmitted throughout the system. Dr. Park had convinced Admiral Kim to broadcast information about Earth to all Vorthak ships. The message described a world of constant danger, volcanoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, diseases, predators, and wars that had lasted for centuries. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day, the message said. We learned to fight or die. We learned to work together or perish alone. We learned that sometimes the only way to survive is to be willing to sacrifice everything for what you believe in. The message had an unexpected effect on the Vorthak crews. They had evolved on a stable, peaceful world. The idea of a planet actively trying to kill its inhabitants was terrifying to them. The ceasefire lasted only 12 hours. War Commander Gelt had called for reinforcements, but Admiral Kim knew they couldn't wait for more Vorthak ships to arrive. The battle had to end now, while humanity still had a chance to win. All ships prepare for final assault, Kim ordered from the bridge of the Soul's Fury. Target their flagship. If we can take down Gelt, the rest might retreat. Captain Lee So-min studied the tactical display. The Vorthak flagship was a massive fortress ship, 3 kilometers long and covered with enough weapons to level a continent. It sat in the center of the enemy formation like a metal mountain. Sir, that ship has more armor than our entire fleet combined, Lee said. Our weapons might not be able to penetrate its hull. Then we'll have to get creative. Major Yoon Seok-jin joined them on the bridge. His Marines had just returned from their successful boarding action, and they looked ready for more fighting. What's the plan, Admiral? Yoon asked. Kim pointed to the enemy flagship. We're going to capture that ship. Everyone on the bridge stared at him. Even Lee looked shocked. Sir, she said carefully, that's suicide. That ship has over 10,000 crew members. It also has the command systems for the entire Vorthak fleet. If we can take control of it, we can end this battle without destroying every ship. Dr. Park Jin-woo looked up from his communication station. Admiral, I've been monitoring Vorthak transmissions. Their crews are frightened. They've never faced losses like this before. Good. Fear makes people make mistakes. Kim turned to the refugee aliens who had been helping them understand Vorthak technology. Valkyran, the Thesian survivor, had been studying captured Vorthak equipment. Is there a way to disable their flagship without destroying it? Kim asked. Valkyran's crystal-like skin flickered with different colors as he thought. Their power systems are very centralized. If you could reach the main reactor core, you could force them to surrender. How heavily defended is the core? Very, but... Valkyran paused. Vorthak ships are designed to fight enemies who attack from outside. They don't expect boarders to fight through their own ship. Yoon smiled. My kind of fight. The plan was dangerous and probably impossible. Captain Lee would take the Soul's Fury and the other large ships in a direct assault on the Vorthak flagship. While the enemy focused on fighting them, Major Yoon would lead a small force of Marines in boarding craft to infiltrate the massive ship. We'll only have one chance at this, Kim told his officers. If the boarding fails, we retreat. I won't sacrifice the entire fleet for one battle. Understood, sir, Yoon said. But we won't fail. Pilot Squadron Leader Bae Dong-wook would provide fighter cover for the boarding craft. His pilots were tired from hours of combat, but they were still ready to fight. How many Vorthak fighters are left? Bae asked. About 40, the tactical officer reported. My pilots can handle that. Dr. Song Ye-jin, the fleet's chief medical officer, was preparing for casualties. The medical bays were already full of wounded from the earlier fighting. If this boarding action goes wrong, she told Kim, we're going to lose a lot of good people. I know, Kim said quietly, but if we don't try, the Helians will all die, and eventually the Vorthak will find Earth. The assault began with every human ship firing at once. The Vorthak flagship's shields flared with energy, as thousands of missiles and energy beams struck it. The massive ship's weapons fired back and space filled with deadly light. Shields down to 60%, Lee reported as the Soul's Fury shook under enemy fire. Keep firing. We need to keep their attention. While the main battle raged, Yoon's boarding craft slipped around the edge of the combat zone. The small ships were painted black and designed to be invisible to enemy sensors. Approaching the flagship's docking bay, Yoon reported over the radio. Security? Kim asked. Light. They really don't expect anyone to try this. the boarding craft attached to the hull of the massive Vorthak ship like parasites on a whale. Yoon's Marines cut through the armor with plasma torches and entered the enemy vessel. Inside the Vorthak ship, the corridors were huge and empty. The walls were covered with symbols that probably told the story of their conquests, but now those corridors would see their first defeat. Teams 1 and 2 head for the reactor core, Yoon ordered. Team 3, secure our exit route. Team 4, with me to the bridge. Corporal Oh Min-jun led Team 1 through the ship's lower levels. The Vorthak crew they encountered seemed confused and frightened. These aliens had never fought an enemy inside their own ship. They keep trying to run away, Oh reported. It's like they don't understand that we're here to fight. Stay focused, Yoon replied. They'll figure it out soon enough. On the ship's bridge, War Commander Gelt was watching the battle outside with growing alarm. His flagship was taking heavy damage, and his smaller ships were being picked off one by the relentless human fighters. Sir, his tactical officer called out. We have intruders in the ship. Impossible. Nothing could penetrate our hull. The humans are inside, sir. They're fighting through the lower decks. For the first time in his career, Gelt felt real fear. His ship was supposed to be invincible, but these Deathworld warriors had found a way inside. Send all security teams to stop them. Meanwhile, O's team had reached the reactor core. The chamber was enormous, filled with glowing crystals that provided power for the entire ship. Setting charges now, O reported. Wait, Yoon said over the radio. Don't destroy it yet. We might be able to use their own systems against them. Dr. Park had been monitoring Vorthak communications from the Soul's Fury. Yoon, if you can access their command systems, you might be able to shut down their other ships too. Team 4 had reached the bridge level, but they encountered heavy resistance. Vorthak security forces had finally organized a defense. They're tougher when they're cornered, Yoon observed as his Marines fought through the ship's corridors. The battle was brutal. Vorthak soldiers wore heavy armor and carried powerful weapons, but they fought like individuals while the human Marines worked as a team. Covering fire, Yoon shouted as his team advanced down a corridor filled with enemy troops. The Marines used tactics that the Vorthak couldn't understand. They threw grenades around corners, used smoke to confuse their enemies, and covered each other as they advanced. Most importantly, they were willing to take risks that no sane alien would consider. These humans fight like demons. One Vorthak soldier radioed to his commander. Hold your positions, the commander replied. They're just another species. But even as he said it, the Vorthak commander knew it wasn't true. These weren't just another species. These were Deathworlders, and they brought the violence of their dangerous planet with them wherever they went. O's team reached the reactor core and found something unexpected. It was guarded by only a few technicians. Not soldiers, they really don't expect anyone to get this far, O said, working quickly. The Marines connected portable computers to the Vorthak control systems. Back on the Soul's Fury, Dr. Park began analyzing the data. I'm in their network, Park reported. I can see their fleet coordination systems. Can you shut down their other ships? Kim asked. Maybe, but I need more time. You've got it. The battle outside was reaching its climax. The human fleet had taken heavy damage, but so had the Vorthak. Several enemy ships were drifting powerless, their crews either dead or wounded. But the flagship was still fighting, its massive guns pounding the Soul's Fury and the other human ships. Admiral, Lee called out, our shields are failing. We can't take much more of this. Hold position. Yoon's teams are almost through. On the Vorthak flagship, Major Yoon's Marines had finally reached the bridge. The last line of defense was a group of Vorthak officers armed with personal weapons. Surrender now, Yoon called out in the Vorthak language that Dr. Park had taught him. And we won't hurt you. War Commander Gelt stepped forward, his red eyes burning with anger. I am War Commander of the Vorthak Imperial Fleet. I do not surrender to inferior species. Then you're going to die. The final fight was short, but intense. Gelt was a skilled warrior, but he had never faced a human Marine in close combat. Yoon moved with speed and precision that came from years of training on Earth's dangerous battlefields. When it was over, Gelt lay on the floor of his own bridge, defeated by a species he had considered primitive. Bridge secured, Yoon reported. Dr. Park, you should have access to all their systems now. From the Soul's Fury, Park worked frantically to understand the Vorthak command network. The alien systems were complex but not impossible to figure out. I've got it, Park announced. I can shut down their weapons and engines. Do it, Kim ordered. One by one, the Vorthak ships around the planet went dark. Their weapons stopped firing, their engines went silent, and they drifted helplessly in space. The battle was over. Humanity had won. On the surface of the Helian homeworld, the survivors emerged from their shelters to see the Vorthak bombardment had finally stopped. In the space above their world, the ships of their destroyers hung powerless while small human vessels moved between them. The Deathworlders did it, Ambassador Velthara whispered. They actually defeated the Vorthak. Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury, looking out at the disabled enemy fleet. They had won, but the cost had been high. 3 human ships were severely damaged, and hundreds. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the cargo bay of the Soul's Fury, watching as the last group of Helian refugees came aboard. The crystalline beings moved slowly, their bodies weak from years of hiding underground. But their 4 eyes showed something that had been missing for too long: hope. Ambassador Velthara approached Kim with careful steps. Her crystal-like skin was cracked from stress, but she held herself with dignity. "Admiral Kim," she said in her musical voice, "my people owe you a debt we can never repay. You traveled farther than any species ever has to help strangers you had never met." Kim bowed slightly, the way his grandmother had taught him to show respect to elders. "We did what anyone should do when innocent people are in danger." "No," Velthara said softly. "Most species in the galaxy would have ignored our call. Even those who wanted to help would have said the distance was too great, the risk too high." Dr. Park Jin-woo joined them, carrying a datapad full of information about the Helian civilization. "Ambassador, my team has been studying your historical records. Your people had achieved things we can barely imagine: cities that float in the air, medicine that can regrow lost limbs, art that changes based on the viewer's emotions." Velthara's skin dimmed. "All gone now. The Vorthak destroyed everything beautiful we had created." "Then we'll help you build it again," Kim said. "Better and stronger than before." Captain Lee So-min approached the group. "Admiral, War Commander Gelt is requesting another meeting," Kim sighed. The Vorthak commander had been a difficult prisoner. Even in defeat, he refused to accept that his empire could be beaten by what he still called primitive Deathworlders. What does he want now? He says he has important information about other Vorthak fleets. Kim followed Lee to the detention area where Gelt was being held. The alien looked smaller now without his impressive armor, but his red eyes still burned with anger. "Admiral," Gelt said when Kim entered, "you have won this battle, but you cannot win the war. There are 1,000 Vorthak fleets spread across the galaxy. Then we'll fight them one at a time if we have to." Gelt made that sound that might have been laughter. "Your 12 ships against 1,000 fleets? Even Deathworlders are not that foolish. You'd be surprised what we can do when we put our minds to it." "Listen to me carefully," Gelt said, his voice becoming serious. "Word of this defeat will spread. Other Vorthak commanders will want to test themselves against your species. They will come with more ships, better weapons, and they will not underestimate you as I did." Kim studied the alien's face. "You're afraid of us now?" "Yes," Gelt admitted. "For the first time in my life, I'm afraid of another species. Your people fight with a ferocity that defies logic. You accept losses that would break any civilized race. You are exactly what the old stories warned us about." "What old stories?" "Legends of the ancient times when the galaxy was young. Stories of warrior species that could not be conquered, could not be broken, could not be reasoned with. We thought they were myths. Maybe they were real and they're still out there." Gelt was quiet for a long moment. "If there are more species like yours in the galaxy, the Vorthak Empire is in great danger." "Good." As Kim left the detention area, he found Dr. Park waiting for him with exciting news. "Admiral, we've established communication with 17 different refugee groups hiding in this sector. They all want to talk to us. About what?" "About joining together to fight the Vorthak. The word is spreading that Deathworlders defeated the Empire's best fleet. Everyone wants to know if it's really true." Kim thought about this. 17 different species, all victims of Vorthak expansion. If they could work together, set up a meeting, but make it clear we're not trying to build an empire of our own. We just want to help people defend themselves. Over the next week, representatives from dozens of alien species arrived at Kepler 442. They came in ships that barely worked, carrying the survivors of destroyed worlds. But they also brought something valuable: knowledge. Engineer Chief Nam Hyejin worked with alien technicians to understand new technologies. The Helians had mastered energy manipulation. The Thesians understood advanced materials science. Other species had developed faster-than-light communication, better medical techniques, and weapons that the Vorthak had never seen. If we combine all of these technologies, Nam told Kim, we could build ships that are better than anything either humans or Vorthak have ever created. Major Yoon Seok Jin was training alien volunteers in combat techniques. Most of them had never held a weapon before, but they were eager to learn. They're not natural fighters, Yoon reported, but they're brave, and once they understand that they can fight back, they become very determined. Pilot Squadron Leader Bae Dong-wook was amazed by some of the alien technologies. Admiral, the Korithan refugees have personal flying devices that work better than our best fighters. If we could combine their technology with our tactics, we'd have the best pilots in the galaxy, Kim finished. The most important development came from Dr. Park's work with the various alien languages and cultures. He discovered that many species had legends about ancient warrior races, just like the Vorthak did. It's possible, Park told Kim, that Earth isn't the only death world in the galaxy. There might be other species like us, other civilizations that evolved on dangerous planets and developed similar fighting abilities. Are you suggesting we look for them? I'm suggesting they might be looking for us. 2 weeks after the battle, Kim received a message that changed everything. It came from Earth, transmitted through a new long-range communication system that had taken months to reach their location. The message was from Admiral Jang Soo-jin, Kim's superior officer and friend. Kim, your victory at Kepler 442 has changed everything here on Earth. The politicians who opposed your mission are now claiming they supported it all along. More importantly, the Defense Council has authorized a massive fleet expansion. Kim shared the message with his senior officers. They gathered in the conference room, listening to Admiral Jang's voice from across the galaxy. We're sending you 60 ships and 50,000 personnel. Captain Jian Wubin will command the new fleet. Your mission is now official. Establish humanity as a protective force in that region of space. Captain Lee smiled. 60 ships. That's 5 times what we have now. It's not about the numbers, Kim said. It's about the message we're sending. Humanity is here to stay. The most surprising part of Admiral Jang's message came at the end. Kim, we've received communications from other human colonies that reported similar signals from different parts of the galaxy. It seems the universe is full of species calling for help. The Earth Defense Council has decided that this is humanity's calling, to be the protectors of those who cannot protect themselves. Dr. Park looked up from his data pad. Admiral, I've been analyzing the galactic communication networks. There are distress calls coming from dozens of systems. The Vorthak aren't the only aggressive empire out there. Then we'll have plenty of work to do. 3 months later, Captain John Wubin arrived with the promised reinforcements. The new fleet included not just ships and weapons, but also engineers, doctors, teachers, and scientists. Earth was committed to building something permanent in this part of the galaxy. Kim met with Jian on the bridge of the new flagship, a massive vessel called the Inchen's Pride. So this is what victory looks like, John said, looking out at the busy space around Kepler 442. Human ships worked alongside alien vessels, building new stations and repairing damaged worlds. This is what hope looks like, Kim corrected. The system had become the headquarters for something unprecedented in galactic history, a voluntary alliance of species united for mutual defense. They called it the Deathworld Compact, and its membership was growing every day. Ambassador Velthera had become the Compact's first civilian leader. Under her guidance, the alliance focused on helping refugees, sharing technology, and building defenses against imperial expansion. We are creating something new, she told Kim during one of their regular meetings. Not an empire built on conquest, but a community built on cooperation. The Vorthak had kept their word about leaving the system, but War Commander Gelt had been right about one thing. Other Vorthak fleets were coming to test themselves against the Deathworlders. We've detected 3 separate fleets approaching from different directions, Captain Lee reported during a staff meeting. They'll arrive within the next 6 months. Good, Major Yoon said. My Marines are getting bored. Kim looked around the room at his officers. They had all changed during their time in space. They were more confident now, more aware of their place in the galaxy. We're not the same people who left Earth 18 months ago, Kim said. We've become something new. We're the galaxy's protectors. Dr. Song Yejin, who had treated hundreds of wounded from dozens of species, spoke up. The aliens call us the Death World Guard now. They say we're the answer to a prayer they didn't know they were praying. As Kim stood on the observation deck of the Incheon's Pride, watching the busy traffic around Kepler 442, he thought about the future. There would be more battles, more rescues, more species to help and protect. But there would also be something the galaxy had never seen before, a force that fought not for conquest or glory, but for the simple idea: